Mr. Excel podcast is sponsored by Easy Excel. Learn Excel from Mr. Excel podcast, episode 1773. Join answers in a matrix. Hey, welcome back to the Mr. Excel Netcast. I'm Bill Jelen. Boy, today's question, this is a doozy sent in by Tom. And I wanted to do this on Friday. I wanted this to be a dueling Excel podcast because my solution involves some VBA. I sent this off to Mike, Excel is fun, Girvin. I said, Mike, can you come up with a formula? And he says, the formula would just be ridiculously long. It would be silly, and there's no way we could fit it in the amount of time. So I think we're going to have the VBA solution here. Here's what we have. We have a matrix, a risk matrix. Severity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probability 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the intersection of each of these cells, we want to find all of the rows, all of the records that have that probability. All right, so here's record number 1. Probability is 5. Severity is 5. All right, so probability 5, severity 5. So there's that 1. That 1 means that it's record number 1 is falling there. And then there's a whole bunch of different records down here, right? And so we need to concatenate all of the answers. And sometimes there's not going to be any answers at all. That'll be the blank cells. And you know, this would be a really, really tough formula if you think about it. How would you start to build this? At least I couldn't come up with anything. So what I did is, sometimes we'll create custom functions in Excel. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if we had a function where we could give it the probability, give it the severity, and then give it this range here, the range of record numbers, knowing that Tom is always going to have the probability in the next column and severity in the next column, and see if we could just loop through all of the rows. So here, let me show you what we came up with. I'll do Alt F11, do Insert Module, and we type this new module, function instead of sub. I call it prob sev score, probability severity score. We're going to pass it the probability as an integer, pass it the severity as an integer, and then number, NBR, as range. All right, we want to make sure that this function is volatile, because that way it'll calculate even if any of those other items out there change, because we might be changing things to the right of the number range or 2 columns to the right of the number range. So that's why we have to make it volatile. Dimension cell is a range, and then start out, initialize this result as quote, quote. If we don't find any matches at all, we're just going to return a quote, quote. For each cell in number, figure out the p-score. So it's the cell offset 0 rows down, 1 column over. Get that rightmost column, add 0 to convert it from text to a number. And then the severity score, same thing here. All right, then if the p-score is equal to the probability that they passed, and the s-score is equal to the severity that they passed, then if this is not the first one for this particular square that was a match, we're going to add whatever we had before and a comma, and then the probability severity score is equal to the cell dot value. That's the record number. All right, so here's how we actually build this in Excel. So it's an actual function. Here, I'll just build a new one, equal prob. See, it comes up in the list. And first thing we do is the probability, so that's this answer here. I always want to make sure that we lock this down to come back to the column, so I'm going to press F4 1, 2, 3 times to put the $ before the C26, comma, and then the severity up here, we'll press F4 1, 2 times to put the $ before the 25, comma, and then my range of numbers, we'll do Control-Shift down arrow, press F4 just once to lock that down, and press enter, and it comes up with number 5. All right, so let's do a test here. We're going to take this record number 1, which you see is currently being reported right there, and we'll change the severity to from critical 5 to insignificant 1. And sure enough, it flew from this cell back to that cell. Isn't that cool? Now, it's too bad we have to do VBA. There is really no, the formula would just be incredibly long. But in this case, VBA actually solves the problem. I'm sure that Tom is going to be, think this has to be easier. But unfortunately, at least as far as I can tell, and I'm sure you'll let me know if there's something easier down in the YouTube comments, this seems to be the best way to go. By the way, I sent this workbook back to Tom so he doesn't have to try and type all this in. And hey, not to beat a dead horse, yesterday I talked about merging cells. Right here, here's an example where it, in my opinion, is acceptable to merge cells. These cells up here, you see, are not merged. Those are just single cells. We select the whole range and Control 1 and center across selection. That way, I'm allowed to just kind of cruise through here. And when I touch that cell, it doesn't expand my range. All right, so merge cells are generally bad. You want to use center across selection as much as you can. You see it just expanded the range there. I don't have a good way to do the vertical except for merging cells, so reluctantly I'll let that one in. But again, center across selection better than merge cells all the time. All right, well, hey, I want to thank Tom for sending that question in, and I want to thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another netcast from Mr. Excel. There's a lot of different ways to connect with me on social media. Of course, Facebook and Twitter have been around for a long time, but Google Plus, I'm now on Google Plus, so you can add me to your circle. I'll add you back to my Excel circle. If I get any good Excel tips, put those out on Google Plus. Either Bill Jelen or MrExcel.com. We have 2 different pages out there on Google Plus.